Hi, what's going on, sports fans, NFL fans, and of course, Big Blue Nation? This is S.M.E. Welcome, and I got another guest here. It's episode 3, and I also want to, before I get into anything, I want to shout out to KP Productions, man. Thank y'all for doing y'all production work for me, man. I appreciate y'all. But I got a guest here, and I usually let them introduce themselves. So, my guy, tell them who you are and how they can find you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, Shakes, what's going on, bro? My name is Nick Felato. You can find me at Nick
Hmm.
Felato. That is Falato, Foxtrot Alpha, Lima Alpha, Tango, Oscar. And I write for Big Blue View, Giants Country, and I am the co-host of the Big Blue Banter podcast.
Yes, sir. And I think we all know who you are by now. Do great work over there, man.
Thanks.
Every time I speak your name up, everybody got high praise, man. So yeah, man. Oh, you got Nick Felato? Yeah, I got Nick Felato, man. Yeah, I said so. You're a big name, bro. You're a big name. All right. Look, man, I ain't gonna waste no time. You know what I'm saying? I know you got things to do, and so do I. So we're gonna get into this festivities already, man. Off the rip. This is S.M.E. You know, this is a show where I talk about all types of entertainment, but today is a special episode. I got my boy Nick Falato here with me, and I got some questions for him that I just want to know myself, and I'm pretty sure that y'all want to know. He does a lot of great film work, a lot of film study, and all around Giants Nation, they go to you to figure out like what's going on as far as the film work. So guys like me that don't really do film work like that, I don't do film study. I watch the game, and then my knowledge and my recollection of the game, I just hold it in. Even though I watched the game probably like 3, 4 times, you know what I'm saying? But that's none of that. Um, my first question to you in this preseason, I think it's huge going forward, is what do you think and what's your opinions of the quarterback room for the New York Giants right now?
Oh, I mean, I was very pleased with what Joe Shane and the New York Giants did from a quarterback perspective. Look, for way too long, the Giants just held on to the previous quarterback, Daniel Jones, who is now starting for the Colts. Best of luck to him out there. But I mean, look, the situation around Jones in New York, it was not an ideal situation to develop a quarterback. But watching that quarterback's tape for 6 years and continuously going back to him and not bringing in any competent competition to compete with him, other than Tyrod Taylor, who I would argue never really actually had an opportunity to compete against Daniel Jones for the starting snaps. The fact that they were able to go out and then just revamp this quarterback room in 2025, it gave me a warm and fuzzy feeling, Shakes, because not only did you go out and get Russell Wilson, who was a veteran, who, look, he's 36 years old, getting a little long in the tooth, not as mobile as he used to be, but as we saw against the Jets, he still has that moon ball and he can create explosive plays outside the numbers or on a deep post like he did against the Jets. And then you signed Jameis, who you signed before getting Russ, just as a contingency because you weren't maybe 100% sure you were getting Russell Wilson. And Jameis Winston is a very respectable quarterback, a very exciting quarterback who will make some mistakes every now and then. But if he's starting for the New York Giants, you bet that they're going to be able to move the football. Now, there might be some, fumbles, some interceptions, but the football will be moved and it won't be 3 and out consistently, putting the defense back on the field so they can get tired and worn down and then surrender and capitulate a bunch of yards later in the game. And then there's Jackson Dart. Brian Dable identified his guy, said, "This is who I want." The Giants traded back up into the first round, didn't have to spend the number 3 overall pick on him. They got Abdul Carter, who is a freak of nature. So you're able to just trade 2. It's a little bit else. Get Jackson Dart, secure that, and it seems like it's positive vibes, and rightfully so. The tape would suggest that it is. I'm not trying to put this kid in Canton yet, but I'm excited about the development that we've seen from Jackson Dart, his personality, the moxie that he has, how he seems to have this gravitational pull around him when it comes to having an infectious personality. And what I mean by that is no one has a bad word to say about him. All right. And now obviously they wouldn't say bad words about him, but they're going out of their way to gush about how this moment does not seem too big for him and how he comports himself in these interviews with the media. It's checking a lot of boxes. And that's all I can ask for a player that we're not probably going to see, at least for the first few weeks, unless things just absolutely fall apart or Russell Wilson gets hurt. So overall, Shakes, to answer your question in a long-winded way, I am excited about the Giants quarterback room, and it seems like they may have the guy in the building right now who could be the future of the franchise.
Totally agree. I love this quarterback room. But getting to the meat and potatoes about it, like you said, Jackson Dart is showing that he is a quarterback. It's exactly what I thought he was. But he is a quarterback in this league, and he could possibly be successful going forward. But my thing is, for this season, do you think that he's going to see the playing field this year? Or do you think that Russell Wilson can hold him off for this year and actually win some games? Because, in my opinion, and I'm sorry to ask a long winded question, but in my opinion, as long as Russell Wilson is winning, and I think that's evident, but some people just don't think that way. But as long as he's winning, he's gonna be in there. So unless they go 1-3, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I can see Dart going in. Like, I can see them saying, all right, you know what? Let's pull the plug. Or they just mathematically out the playoffs. Okay, let's see the kid. But if you're winning and you're in the race, how can you go to the kid? You got to stick with Russell. So my thing is, do you see Dart playing this year? And that goes into how successful you think this Giants team can be.
Yeah, so I do see Dart playing at some point this season, and let's not forget, and this is a completely different situation. I think Dable. Well, I don't even know if that's. Yeah, no, I think Dable is just he's in a bit more of a precarious situation. It's a little bit hot in the seat is right now, but the Giants were what 6-2 when they benched Kurt Warner and put Eli Manning in there. Now
Five and
Jackson
four.
Dart
5-4.
5-4 it was okay. So they had a positive record back then, and they were in the playoff hunt. I can see
Mhm.
that happening, or at least them being around 500 at that time, Shakes. But it really just depends on if the offense is moving. If Russell Wilson's moving the offense and they're scoring like 26 points a game or even 24 points a game, they're probably not going to bench Russell Wilson for Jackson Dart. Even if Jackson Dart is 100% ready, they probably wouldn't want to screw with the feng shui of the roster, of the team, of what's going on, because the vibes would be very positive. But if the defense is willing the Giants to victory with like 17-14 wins and the offense is holding them back and the offense is acting as an
Mhm.
anchor mid-season, even though they are 5-4 or they're 500 or whatever it is, I can
Right.
see the Giants turning the page of Jackson Dart. But to your point, if Russ can get it done, if Russ is creating explosive plays, if Russ is putting points on the board, Dart may wait. Either way, this is a great situation to find ourselves in as Giant fans, right? Because there's
Mhm.
options. It's not just one person. It's like we're riding and dying with this one person. If this ship sinks, we're sinking with it. No,
It does.
there's
Yeah.
there's several different ships that we can just jump to, right? And one of them may be Jackson Dart at some point this season, I think at least.
No, I totally agree. And that's the beauty of this quarterback room. That's why I'm glad this is the question. But that's the beauty of this room is because to me, uh, I'm a Obama guy. Y'all, I've been talking about Obama for years to you and asking you Russell Wilson questions for a long time now, and I call him Obama, right? So I'm an Obama guy. But even if it don't work with Obama, um, I like crab legs. You know what I'm saying? We like crab legs. I'm from Baltimore. We like crab legs. You know what I'm saying? So, um, Winston, I think he can get the job done. And again, Jackson Dart was even from a freshman at USC. I seen something in this kid, and I was like, of course, that's my son. You know what I'm saying? So these are all my quarterbacks that I love, and even in DeVito with his his gimmicks, I think he's still going to be in the building as well in the practice squad. So, yeah, I agree. I think these quarterbacks we have options, and it's not just riding on Daniel Jones like how it was in the future, or just riding on Eli Manning like it was in the future. We got options here. Don't work out, we can go to the next one. All right. Speaking of the next one, it's my next question for you. These two guys, I feel like is in a battle right now because when I think about the wide receiver room, I think there's four locks. I think there is Neighbors, Slayton, Hyatt, and Wandell. I think they four locks. To me, six makes the team. So you got two slots open. I think Gunner makes it off of special teams, just alone. So Gunner's five. Who gets that sixth spot? I think there's two people battling for it right now. And that's what my next question for you is. Bo Collins versus Montreal Washington.
Yeah.
What's your opinion? What
Yeah,
do you think?
so I think there are other wide receivers that are in this mix, and a lot of it depends on what the Giants think they can do with if these guys will make the like slip through the practice squad, or will there be another team that wants to lock them down to be 53-man roster guys. Um, I'm not sold that it'll be Gunner. I think it would probably be Gunner. I think Dalen Cambry could be in that conversation. It will likely be Gunner Olszewski, though, since whatever happened with Amir Smith Marset last game where he didn't play and then he tweeted like LOL and then he deleted. There was some like drama there. I'm not fully versed in exactly what's going on with that situation, Shakes. But little Jordan Humphrey is another player that I think we should put into that. If I'm a betting man, I think the Giants want Bo Collins to make the roster. Bo Collins missed time in training camp with an injury, but he's battled back. He's earning first team reps. I'm guessing he's probably going to play on Thursday against the New England Patriots. A lot of guys will probably sit, but a lot of these UDFAs, these young players, they should see the field. And you're looking at, Amir Smith Marset, Montreal Washington, Jordan Blythe, Daquan Felton, who's been dealing with injuries, Gunnar Olszewski, Zach Pascal. Those are like the players who we're talking about for those last two spots. One of them is going to be the special team spot. So you could look at it like Gunnar Olszewski versus Amir Smith Marset. Who's going to win that? But to
Mm-hmm.
really hyper focus on your question, Antoine Juice Wells is also in that
Yeah,
conversation.
I like
Collins
Juice.
are yeah. I mean, but a lot of these guys you could slip to the practice squad. Who can't you
Right,
slip to the practice squad, right?
right,
I think you
right.
could probably even slip Bo Collins to the practice squad, but the Giants seem to appreciate his skill set a little bit more. He offers something different because he's like 6'4", 205 pounds. So if I'm a betting man, I'm going Bo Collins over Montreal. You try to put Montreal on the practice squad. Montreal Washington has like an extra gear to him. We saw that against the Buffalo Bills in preseason week 1. He has
Mm-hmm.
that extra explosiveness. But as Brian Dable brought up multiple times after the game and then prior to the Jets joint practice, he left some plays on the field. He left some plays on the field in the Jets joint practices as well. So I think I would rather go with Bo and then try to slip Montreal through the practice squad. Again, this is a good situation. And I know a lot of people are talking about stuff like this on Twitter, Shakes, but
Mm-hmm.
the Giants are actually looking at roster cuts where they're cutting guys who are like desirable. Like that
Right.
hasn't really been the Giants' case. There's some meat on this roster that's not going to get chewed, and other teams may want to chew that meat. And if they don't, if they opt not to, then that meat can be put in the fridge, i.e., the practice squad.
Right. I like that. I like that. Yeah, and I think I'm going with the Bo Collins too. The only thing is that when I look at the roster, there's not many other slot guys but Wandell.
Mm.
And then you get to the Gunners and the Montreal Washingtons, right? So it's like he like, all right, hold up. Ooh, eh, are we putting all our faith in Wandell in the slot? Like, what we doing here? What we doing? So that's the only thing I got with the Bo Collins thing.
Yeah.
He is my guy that's the front runner for that last spot. But like you said, there is a whole bunch of guys. That's just that for me. I think they the front runners for those that last spot for me because I think for that fifth spot is gonna when you go, you gotta have a special team guy. So like you said, it's Gunner versus the Smith Marset guy, and I think Gunner's winning that right now. So I look at that and I'm like, all right, the sixth spot is between those two, and right now I think Bo Collins has the nod. All right. Speaking of, well, ain't no speaking of, but let's shift gears to the offensive line here. Evan Neal and Marcus Mabo.
Oh,
Their
love
take.
this. Yes.
Please speak to the folks. What are you seeing from both guys here? We can start with
Absolutely.
Evan Neal first.
Absolutely. If we're starting with Evan Neal, look, we didn't get to see him in preseason week 1 against the Buffalo Bills, and we didn't get to see him in the first practice against the Jets. He returned for the second practice, and he played in the game. And Evan Neal, look, he still has his limitations. It's just his limitations are masked because he's not as vulnerable to the outside like he was at offensive tackle. But still, he's going to take, I would say, shallow sets. He's going to take poor angles into contact. He's going to be a little bit too high, but he's also going to be a brick wall. He's also not going to allow defensive players to run through his chest, because if you can say a lot of negative things about Evan Neal, he has not lived up to expectations. There's a lot to say there. But one thing you have to give him credit for is he's a brick wall when it comes to defeating opposing power moves through his chest. If he can get his feet underneath that very large, massive human being that he is, the rep is over. And then it gets just, that comes down to just him locking out with those vice grip hands he has and getting inside. It's just his angles into contact do not allow him to frame the block optimally, giving defensive players the ability to attack either shoulder. And that's where he's vulnerable, because he's not quick enough. He's not quick footed enough. He's not flexible enough to overcome defensive players who work through either shoulder. And you see it through his tape, man. He takes one too far of a step. Somebody hits him with an inside or an outside move, and now he's leaning and his chest is facing the deck. And then the leverage advantage usually goes to the defense because he's 6'8" and he can't really keep his ass down. He can't keep his hips down. So there's a lot of issues with Neal, right? And they're masked by being inside, but those issues aren't going to go away just because they're being inside. And then you have his ability to generate force through the ground, work those combo blocks with John Michael Schmitz and the tackle and the duo blocks and the inside zone. And that works out for him, right? Because he is very powerful at the point of attack. And I think in the run game, he's much better than when he's in pass protection and he has to worry about the angles and dealing with a lot of those counter moves. But I think Evan Neal is who he is at this point. I don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowl guard. I think he could be an adequate guard, but a completely different player than someone like Marcus Bowe for a variety of reasons. Marcus Bowe has had I would say, an excellent preseason. It hasn't been flawless, but it's been very good and very impressive. But even if you want to focus on the plays where his execution wasn't great because somebody was able to get through his inside shoulder or get through and pry open the B gap and then make a tackle at the line of scrimmage, and you could say, yeah, that's a demerit on the resume of Marcus Bowe. Even on those plays, like his framing and his feet and his hips and the tenacity, all the things that like you see independent of those plays, they're all still like on tape. Like he doesn't frame his blocks optimally all the time against the run, but like I'm not going to hyper focus on that's going to happen sometimes. Sometimes a defensive player, this is preseason, is going to be able to beat your angle inside and then make you look like you lost the block. And that's okay because he doesn't have the limiting factors that a player like Evan Neal has. Evan Neal has limiting factors physically that Marcus Bowe does not have, because Marcus Bowe has some of the smoothest feet. And I talked about this on Big Blue Banter as well. When you watch Marcus Bowe do like a 45-degree set, he gets his feet out and then like his head pops up for a second and his ass is right back down. Like his ability to just move and then drop his hips to be ready to embrace contact and to be ready to handle what the defensive player is going to throw at him, it's very fluid and quick. And I want to say like it's one of his best traits, Shakes. And that's why I'm very excited, right? Because that's something that not a lot of offensive tackles possess because they just don't have the athletic capabilities to do that. Evan Neal does not have that athletic capability. He cannot kick out and do a kick slide and then just sink his hips and be ready to take on that contact. He'll kick out. It's much more herky-jerky. It's much slower than a player like Marcus Bowe who can just reset those hips and just be ready to embrace. And if he gives up a play here or there, I'm okay with that, okay? Because he's a freaking fifth-round pick who is developing at this time. He seems to be calm, cool, and collected in all the interviews. He has that chip on his shoulder. I think the Giants really, like, I don't want to say they hit a home run because, again, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I think the Giants drafting Marcus Bowe was such a wise pick by Joe Shane, but also just like fortuitous that he fell that far and is now coming into camp and putting quality tape out there. Upside through the roof, could be the swing tackle if everything goes right for him in 2025, even though the Giants gave $6 million a year to James Hudson, who's not a terrible player, but is also kind of a frustrating player.
I I agree, and one of the things that you pointed out that really had me thinking was the movement as far as watching Evan Neal. And then you can even, like you just pointed out with Mingbo, like Neal has this like heavy foot stonewall thing to him, right? And like I even look, and really I wasn't even looking at Marcus, but I was thinking about Andrew Thomas, right? Because Andrew Thomas is like light footed, right? Like he can move and like he can withstand those quicker guys on the edge, right? Because he can move along with them. It's the light foot for me. Like he can just his legs, the way that they move. Evan Neal can't move that way. It's like it's really like slow and stonewallish,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's just like it's steady. So if he can just get a firm, all right, this is boom, I'm locked in, and then what I mean, then he can get a push. But if you have him where he's moving his legs, he got to dance like a bear. That's when he's fucking up. And
Yeah.
so that's where I see from him. And when I see him in the rush, like he's moving bodies, right? Like you can tell he loves run blocking. Like it's run blocking play, he's giddy. He's get him out of there. You know what I mean? But it just seems like when it's a pass play or when he has to pass block, it looks like he's just thinking too much. And he's trying to keep up with those quicker guys, which he cannot. So because like I said, those stonewall ass feet that he has. So yeah, that's what I see from him. And that's why what you said, it rings bells to me. Like I said, I'm not a tape dude. That's why I like talking to you, because I can go and revert to my memory and be like, okay, this is what I'm seeing from him
Yeah.
in my memory bank. You know what I mean? It's
I
not a
do.
film study. Like I will admit that, and I'm saying that here on my show right now. I am not a film study guy. Don't sit there and say, "Oh, the shakes." No, I'm not. I'm not that guy. Okay, but I know what I'm talking about. Y'all know. Y'all know. I'm hardly ever wrong. All right, let's go on to the next topic here. And this is something that I feel it has to, I think we all feel this way, but it has to be cleaned up. And it was shown prevalent in this last preseason game, which was our rush defense. Will it be a problem going forward?
The rush defense, yeah, I'm a little nervous. I'm not. I don't want to say it's going to be a problem, but if the Giants do not live up to the expectations that we're developing at this point, I would say give me three reasons why the run defense is going to be one of those reasons, right? And it's because the Giants cannot stop the run, they cannot fit the run, and then they can really never pin their ears back and get after the passer. And that's what this New York Giants team is built around. If the Giants can get Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Chauncey Golston, Darius Alexander, if he ever shows up, if they can get those guys to pin their ears back and go, then the Giants are going to be in a good spot. But by not fitting the run, that's what can disallow the Giants from ever actually seeing those situations at a consistent rate, right? So, like, I just want more 3rd and 5 situations. Be good on 1st down and 2nd down, especially in a defense that runs a lot of too high shells, meaning the Giants are going to have one less guy in the box often. if they want to run those two high shells because they're doing two read coverages, running palms and quarters and cover four, things like that. Shane Bowen did a lot of that with the Tennessee Titans. So the Giants are going to need to be strong up front. And I don't have any qualms about Brian Burns. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence is a beast. The linebackers, I'm tentatively optimistic about them, specifically Micah. I really need to see a little bit more from Bobby Okereke just because it was a pretty big step back last year. I'm wondering how much the back injury is affecting him. But Nacho and then Roy Robertson Harris are like the two guys I'm looking at. And Nacho was a guy that, a lot of Giant fans, we were entertaining possibly the Giants moving on from him because they could save like $4 million on the cap. I don't think their roster is in any position that they can do that. And that says a lot because he's not this difference making player. He should be like your fourth option on the defensive line. And he might start opposite of Dexter Lawrence because he's a gap specialist, doesn't offer that much as a pass rusher. But overall, Shakes, I'm looking at the Giants defense and I'm like, you have players that you can put in there. I'm just not confident that any of those players can be consistent enough to really hunker down and hold down and hold the fort down while also giving you some like having a dual ability to stop the run and also rush the passer a little bit in those situations that are like 2nd and 6 where they might run the football but they might actually pass. So I'm not optimistic about the Giants run defense. I don't necessarily think it's going to be the biggest hindrance, but if the Giants are going to suck, they're not going to be able to stop the run. I can say that much. And if the Giants are going to be good, they have to stop the run. It's just right now, it's really going to come down to the execution. At least they have some veterans in the building, and they're not going to rely solely on UDFAs, right? And Elijah Chapman even made a couple really nice plays against the Jets as a run defender. That's not somebody I want to necessarily rely on all that often, but at least it showed that he's crafty with his limitations because he's a 5'11" defensive lineman. Like who the hell? I think they list him at 6 foot, but stand next to him. He's really not that tall at all. So yeah, to circle back and answer your question, Shakes, I'm a little nervous about the run defense.
Yeah, I am too. And it's only because I just feel like you said, I think their hand is forced a bit. Because guys like Darius Alexander, I feel like he's going to be somebody that stops the run, but he has to develop. He has a lot to learn. He missed some time, so he's kind of behind. He's trying to catch up. So it's going to take him a while. Um, Chapman, like you said, that great, but you know what? Where do you really want to line him up at is a question for me. Um, Robinson Harris, which gave me great. I don't know how he looked on the tape from your standpoint, but from what I was looking at in the first 2 games, this man is everywhere. Um, Roches is like average to me. It's just average. And then you got Davidson and then you got Riley, which right now it's like, hey, Davidson, this is your time. You need to step up, or you're not going to be on the team next year. Maybe somebody else, but you won't be on Giants.
Yeah,
Same with Riley. You know what I'm saying? Same with Riley. Like, this is your time. Step up, show something, or you might not be on the team next year. So that
I
to
agree. I agree.
me,
And I'm right there with you, dude. I think Roy Robert.
go ahead.
I think Roy Robertson Harris has showed up well on the all 22 tape. But training camp, he was getting pushed around a little bit, but it seems like he's been a baller and done well against the run, which he's much more of like at least the idea of him is much more pass oriented. So I tend to concur with that assessment that you laid out before.
Okay, absolutely. I'm sorry. Um, all right. So we basically in agreement. It could be a problem. It could be a problem. Oh, also the factor of McFadden. Now, I love McFadden, but he has to finish his tackles. So a lot of times he's in the right place, he's right there at the right time. He can blow this play up, but he just misses the tackle, or the guy just broke his tackle, or you know what I mean. It's just he cannot finish the tackle. Like I watched Bobby O, and Bobby O finished his tackles. You know what I'm saying? I don't see that from McFadden, and that's the problem there. Because again, when he shoots those gaps, he's good and he's in the right position. He read the play right, but he just cannot finish the damn play. And that's where it fucks up. Because after that, when they break the damn tackle, then they go on what 5, 6 more yards down the field, and that's just never good, man. So that's for me has to get cleaned up. It has to. It has to.
I 100% agree. And that was a rough game for him, McFadden, against the Jets, because he had like two of those situations where he missed the tackle. He was better in my assessment in 2024 than he was in 2023 in that regard. But either way, it's still a big limitation to his game. Like he's a smart, cerebral guy, and so is Bobby O, and they put themselves in the right location a lot of the time. But they need to finishing is something that can hold this entire defense back, and it's something that Micah has struggled with throughout his career.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So this one, the last question here, and it is, what players to watch for going into this last preseason game, man? Who's going
Ooh.
to try to make this team?
Yeah, man. I'm writing an article on that right now over at Big Blue View. And look, I don't expect, I have no inside knowledge. I don't expect the Giants to play a lot of starters and veterans and guys like that. So the players that I'm going to be watching, it's Marcus Bowe, it's Darius Alexander. It's a lot of these back end players. And it's a lot of the back end players who are battling other back end players who have really no chance to make the 53, but can they make those 16 practice squad spots, right? Like those depth wide receivers, the Antoine Juice Wells, Jordan Blyes, and the players like that, the back end safeties and the back end cornerbacks. And if you really want to focus on the cornerback shakes, the Giants behind Cordell Flott, it's like, who the hell do they have? They got, Paulson Adebo, Tay Banks, Drew Phillips, Cordell Flott. And then the next guy up is Nick Jones, because he's been running as the backup for Drew Phillips while also playing some boundary out there with the first team when some of these guys have been injured. But Trey Hawkins III, he's been out with injuries. Corey Black has not seen a lot of snaps defensively throughout training camp. Him and D. Williams have been doing special team stuff. You have Odell Fortune, you have Art Green, you have TJ Morrow has received first team reps as well. Some of those guys might make this roster, at least initially. Again, remember, the Giants do have the third priority spot when after cut down. So they're going to spend that on one of these position groups, whether that be secondary, defensive line, or wide receiver. I'm sure they're going to poach somebody that is that another team is trying to get crafty and slip them through the practice squad. The Giants will steal that player. But looking at the Giants roster right now, I'm really paying attention to the secondary, I believe, because not a lot of those guys have done anything to seize the opportunity outside of Nick Jones and then the guys who we already know. So I think there could be two roster spots in the secondary that are the initial roster spots that are up in the air. Like behind Dane Belton, I think it would probably be Raheem Lane, because Lane has been running with the first team specials, and he's also received a lot of snaps with Tyler Nubin out. And but you also have Kayvon Wallace coming back from injury. You have Makari Page, who had the interception, right? So I don't think it's exactly clear what's going on there. I think we could probably like put pieces together as to what it is. But if they make some plays in this game, that could go a long way for them making the practice squad, or maybe possibly even usurping someone like Nick Jones if he's the presumed number one guy. So I want to highlight that more so. And then the draft picks, I don't know if Cam Scadaboo is going to see anything. It might just be the Jonathan Ward show with a little bit of Dante Turbo Miller. Miller's always somebody that I'm interested in paying attention to. I want to see Greg Dulcich and Thomas Fedone as well, those backup tight ends, to see exactly what they do. So yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Yeah, cornerbacks is definitely a thin spot. I don't think we need a lot of bodies there. I think it's basically all those guys vying for one spot, because I think you go with five, and I think four already locked their positions as far as Adebo, Banks, Flott, and Phillips. So I think all those guys is vying for one spot, and we'll see. And that's what I want to ask you about them cornerbacks. Because I see a lot of TJ Moore. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I see a lot of TJ Moore in these preseason games. So, from your standpoint of your film study, has it been good for TJ Moore or has it been bad?
Like, yeah, I'm trying to. So there's been twice that come to my mind where he was the secondary force, secondary contained defender, and one of them was in practice where he didn't contain. The player got to the edge and was able to outrun him, and that's something that's not ideal. Now he's what seen about 11 targets or surrendered 6 catches. I think he had a PBU if I'm not mistaken. There's nothing to me that I've seen from TJ Moore where I'm like, yeah, man, he's really showing out here, or nothing that I'm like, yeah, he's really struggling here. He's just kind of been grouped in with the other players that I mentioned before, where it's like none of them are really rising to the occasion. I would say Nick Jones is the one who has, and I think that's why I don't want to say he's safe to make the roster, but I think he has the inside track to initially make the roster at least. So, I mean, you can Odell Fortune was somebody who got burnt against the Bills on that deep post right before halftime. It was a bad rep where he opened his hips early, but at the same time, the Giants were supposed to have Tay Banks or Dane Belton take the middle of the field for that same exact situation. And they both went, well, Tay Banks was pointing like cover the post. And Dane Belton drove on the horizontal cross, and that left O'Donnell in a situation where he was by himself. And the way he handled that situation was poor. So, because I only bring him up because he was making plays early in training camp as well. But my overall assessment of this is not a strong group behind the starters. And you can argue that the second starting outside cornerback, that's not necessarily someone you want to consistently rely on. I think there's a lot of potential with both players, specifically Tay Banks, but that guy cannot locate a football in the air. And then Cordell Flott thought he had a sensational play against Garrett Wilson. Great angle, quick click and close down through the catch point, near hip, knock the football away. Textbook play by a guy like Cordell Flott. But if you're telling me if something happens to Paulson Adebo, the Giants' starting cornerbacks are Cordell Flott and Tay Banks, I I don't feel good about that, Shakes. And that's something that could happen. I mean, Paulson Adebo missed 8 games last year with an injury, so it's a little problematic. But the Giants still have some time to help fortify this roster before Week 1. Not a lot of time, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at there, man. I mean,
I
what were your
know.
thoughts on the secondary? Because that's another thing that could really hold this team back.
No, I agree. That's one of the reasons why I felt like we should have made a play for Jair Alexander,
Mm.
which Purple Ravens ended up doing, and which is crazy because they have two cornerbacks already out there, but you never have too many. So, yeah, I think it could be a problem. I think it's now or never for both guys as far as Banks and Flat. And you mentioned if Debo went down, and then we're on to those two. Yeah, it don't make me feel very confident. I agree with you on that, but at the same time, these are the guys that this regime, this coaching staff recruited.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? These are the guys that they said, look, these guys got potential, and if they have to, and this is year 3, I mean, you have the, hey, y'all got, this is your time. This is not year 1. This is not year 2. This is year 3. This is make or break for a lot of these players. So, hey, like you said, not very confident, but they should be because these are their guys.
I think
So,
that, yeah, you're right. I think the term is they got to nut up or shut up, right, Shakes?
yep, pretty much. All right, man. It's been a great episode, man. I always love having you on the show, man. On my show now, this is me going solo now.
I
But
see.
yeah, yeah, I mean, but always in the same type of mode, man, and it's always good to talk to you. So give the people the last closing statement, and again tell the people where they can find you at.
Yeah. So last closing statement. I think the Giants are in for some exciting and competitive football in 2025. I don't know how many wins that's going to result or yield, right? But I think it's just going to be a little bit more of an exciting atmosphere. And the Giants could be a surprise team if things click for them well, and if they can stop the run, and if Russell Wilson keep the court or keep the offense on track and in rhythm as he's done throughout his career. But yeah, I'm excited for the season, and you could find me on Twitter at Nick Felato, and you can check out my writing at Big Blue View or Giants Country. Right now, most of it is at Big Blue View, but during the draft, it'll be at Giants Country. A lot of draft stuff once that part of the season rolls around, which isn't for a minute. And then the podcast, Big Blue Banter with Dan Schneier. Shakes, thank you so much.
No doubt, Nick. And I was just talking to my boy NYG, and he was like, yeah, Big Blue Blue, and I'm like, I don't know if he still do anything there, but I know he's still on that Big Blue Banter.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so I'm glad that he's still doing that as well. So yeah, man, Nick Falato, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, man. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for showing me some love, and we definitely gonna chop it up again during the season, man. So always good to talk to you, man. And on that note, like I said before, I want to give a shout out to KP Productions. Shouts to ABSN Sports. You know what I mean, my partnership with them. Great dudes over there. Appreciate the love. Shouts to Big Blue Banter. Shouts to Dan Snyder over there, man. You know what I'm saying? I gotta talk to him as well soon. Um, and we'll be back soon. I got a episode of That's on Giants coming up as well. So y'all look out for that. We also got the Purple Pain podcast coming out as well. Look out for that. Yeah, man. I'm working, bro. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I don't let the shit stop me. You feel me? But on that note, like I always say around this time, good night.